Hi everyone, welcome back. Another Conductor in Quarantine video for you as promised in this holiday season. For my Christmas one, I wanted to pick something appropriately enough from the Christmas Oratorio. The Christmas Oratorio as a whole is this sort of gigantic 2.5-hour piece, but it's actually a conglomeration of 6 different cantatas, so never intended to be performed all at once. They would be performed on sort of different feast days on the various days of Christmas. And the one that I've chosen here is, again, I think it's one of the most famous ones, one of the most popular ones from the Oratorio. Break forth, O beautiful morning light, Brich an, O schönes Morgenlicht. This comes from the second cantata from the Christmas Oratorio, the one intended for the second day of Christmas, St. Stephen's Day. That would be the Feast of Stephen, as mentioned in Good King Wenceslas. Unusually, it does not fall into our favorite chorale location. As I've said many times, chorales typically come at the ends of the cantatas that they're in. This particular one has a full 14 movements and 3 different chorales. And so there's another chorale at the end, you don't have to worry about that. But this one is not that final chorale. This one comes in the 3rd position in the cantata. So what are we saying with this one? Brich an, O schönes Morgenlicht, und lass den Himmel tagen. Break forth, O beautiful morning light, and let the heaven dawn. Du Hirtenvolk, erschrecke nicht, weil dir die Engel sagen. You shepherd people, fear not, because the angels say to you, dass dieses schwache Knäbelein soll unser Trost und Freude sein, that this weak little child shall be our solace and joy, dazu den Satan zwingen und letztlich Frieden bringen, compelling Satan and finally bringing peace. If you've ever heard me talk about keys, I get sort of weird about the key of G major, and this one happens to be in the key of G major. It's the first one that I've done in this series that's in that key. And the reason I'm a little weird about the key of G major is that as an orchestra conductor, there's a full almost century between the late 1700s and the late 1800s where no major composer writes a symphony in the key of G major, between Haydn's 100th Symphony and Dvorak's 8th. There are a couple in there, if you know the name, Louis Spohr, he wrote a few, but it's really rare. It's sort of statistically unlikely how underrepresented the key of G major is. And so whenever I see it, it sort of sets off these kinds of bells, and I always wonder why. And you know, when you think about why someone might avoid a key, it's usually because it has some sort of association, and the sort of stereotypical or traditional association with G major is with kind of simplicity, you know, sort of beautiful sunny outdoors, things like that. And it's not considered a weighty enough key to make sort of a major statement, which is why I think a lot of composers kind of avoided it for their big works. But it's the key that this one happens to be. And, you know, we're talking to the shepherds, right? These are simple people, and we don't want to intimidate them. So when we're giving this message to them, we're going to use our kind of key of simplicity to give this message. The sort of thing that kind of contradicts that on the other side, however, is that this is one of the more sort of finger-twisting-y kind of settings that Bach did. There's a lot of stuff going on underneath the surface. There's some crunchy dissonances when we talk about Satan. And there's this sense that even though the sort of base message, the kind of high-level message that we're sending is simply, don't be afraid, good things are coming, there's a lot of complexity behind that message that's sort of being shielded a little bit by the key that we're using. So, as always, I'll play through it first without singing, and then I'll sing along the second time. Hope you enjoy it. erschrecke nicht, weil dir die Engel sagen, dass dieses schwache Knäbelein soll unser Trost und Freude sein, dazu den Satan zwingen und